All right, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm going to check my audio volume real quick just to make sure we are good to go. My audio setup seems to have cocked out on me a little bit, so I'm like, first, let me say hi to everybody in the chat. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? How is the audio for you guys? Can you guys hear me okay? I'm back in the compound at home, so all right. Hello, hello, hello. I wonder if Nate is late. That's funny. Let me make sure I can hear you guys on this end. Yes. All right. So everything sounds all right to me. I think I can hear everything. All right. All right. So audio's a bit low. Here I can hear you good. Transmission's good. Loud and clear, loud and clear. All right. So I'm going to trust you guys that you guys can hear me, and we'll see where it goes from here. All right. Cool. Hello, hello, chat. Hello from Alabama. What's going on? Alabama. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Hello, Nate and chat. All right. Ooh, so how's everybody doing today? So I just came back from vacation, as many of you know. Well, not really vacation. We were shooting a couple of vlogs, and we went to Disney World, so it was pretty good. Love from Jamaica. Hey, Jamaica, what's going on? And it's funny because when you go away and you come back, it's like the world has blown up, right? It's got so many different things that are going on. The unsealing of the documents, the you got Alex Jones, you got everything just kind of happens when you go away. So it's kind of like, it's just. Is it real or what's going on here? So Nate, it's been a while. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a couple of days. It's been a couple of days. I know it feels like forever though, right? Good afternoon from London. Hey, London, what's going on? All right. So it seems like we're about to get into the mix of all this. Let me make sure I have everything up as loud as possible. All right. So here we go. All right. So let's start. Now, for all of you guys out there, we're going to go through the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard saga again. But today, we're going to go through the unsealed documents. And we're also going to talk about how some of the media are trying to manipulate this whole unsealed documents thing to try to make it seem like Amber Heard won either won the case or that Amber Heard is somehow the true victim and these unsealed documents have made it. Now, Andrea Burkhart, she was the one who crowdsourced the funding for the documents. It was 50 cents per page. It was like 6,000 pages. So it came out to like 3,000, a little bit over $3,000. She crowdsourced it. They got like $2,000 extra. They give it to the Children's Hospital, and we got the documents. And the only thing she did with the documents is correlate them, and she put them out for everyone to see. So we all saw the documents. We all saw what was going on, and we all saw um, the everything was fully transparent. So it wasn't just the good stuff about what was in there for Johnny or the bad stuff that was for Amber. It was for everything. Just, all right. I'm trying to see the audio even here. I'm just trying to check my audio again just to make sure because this thing has been acting up so bad. All right. Good. Uh, uh, it's funny because I've taken my system from Florida back to New York and now putting it back all together, parts of it is acting up like it's not working. So whatever. All right, so let's get into the gory details. Sorry about just checking your system because it's wild. It's a great quote from Mike Tyson. Everybody got a plan until you get punched in the face, and it's like setting up this morning. We all had it all planned out, and then the last test, it was like no audio. It was like, what happened? So you got punched in the face, and this is just the way we remove out of being punched in the face. All right, so I've got some slides for you guys today, and we're gonna walk through these. So first, let's first just let me give you a little bit more background. So the unsealed documents came out, and the unsealed documents are kind of what we expected. What Johnny Depp's team didn't want to come in, what Amber Heard's team didn't want to come in, and specifically, we're going to talk about their criminal history and prior bad acts. Now, generally, in any court case, you can't bring in evidence of propensity, or what it means. It's the once a thief, always a thief scenario. And that's what you can't do in a trial. So I can't show that you beat, let's say if it's a criminal trial, I can't show that since you robbed the bank in the past, then that means you robbed the bank now, right? And so the law kind of says we don't like that type of evidence. Just because somebody did something bad in the past doesn't mean they did this bad thing now. So generally, the courts will say we don't want that evidence. We don't want to hear that evidence. Only thing we want to hear is the stuff that they did now to prove they did what they're being accused of. So in this particular instance, with these motions to eliminate specific crimes and other wrongdoings, most of these things won't come in to the trial. Even though they're salacious, most of these things would not come into a trial because it would just be unfair to the other side, right? Because like even with Amber's DV arrests, you'll see, just because she committed domestic violence against her prior partner doesn't mean she did it this time. But there are also exceptions to that rule. Some exceptions are let's say if the party brings up themselves, like let's say if I'm convicted of robbery and I'm on the stand and we're talking and I say, well, I've never done anything wrong, then I can be impeached with that robbery conviction. And there are other nuances to it, but the general rule is prior bad acts can't come in. So I want to point us to two things in the motion that I think so. First, we're going to start off with Amber's motion, which I think is the more interesting part. Then we'll go to Johnny Depp's motion of what he wanted to keep out the criminal activity and prior bad acts. Then we'll preview some other stuff from next week, and then we'll see some things about how now NBC's entertainment reporter is attacking all of us for essentially taking public information and making it accessible to everybody, because that's what they're going to be attacking us for. So let's start here. So this is from the actual motion. This is from Amber's motion it's called a motion to eliminate. This was the motion to exclude particular evidence before it came to trial. So this says any evidence of testimony or allegations of criminal conduct against Ms. Heard should be excluded based on Virginia rules of evidence. Now, we don't have to talk about the rules of evidence because I'm essentially told you exactly what it was. The difference between someone propensity evidence, someone has done something in the past, so that means they did this one, versus versus trying to figure out if the person did this particular act based on the evidence from this particular thing. Light Giver says, Nate, just because a person has drug and alcohol problem doesn't make them an abuser. Correct. That's what AH team was trying to show. I think that's what they wanted to do, but I don't think that's what they want. Obviously that's what they wanted to do. And the judge is the person who doesn't allow them to do that. This one, good morning, Kate Compton. Please hit the gavel. Thanks again, Kate. So this is where we're going on. So first, let's look at what Amber wanted to keep out. Now, it gets kind of crazy, but we'll see what she wanted to keep out. First, there are 6 things that she says her prior bad acts of criminal activity that she wants to keep out. First is her arrest for domestic violence. So under this section, she wants to keep out her domestic violence arrest when she was arrested for beating up her prior girlfriend. Here is that video of what happened, so we can all be on the know.
Amber Heard was arrested September 14th, 2009 after she grabbed her then-girlfriend, artist Tassia Van Ree, and hit her in the arm during a clash at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. A judge told Heard, who was going by the name Amber Van Ree at the time, that the state could still file charges in the future. Heard split with Van Ree in 2012 after 4 years together and moved on to actor Johnny Depp.
So now this report by the Daily News was how long ago? Was I think 5 or 6 years ago. But it's clear. Amber Heard was arrested and for assaulting her then partner, and she had a partner's last name. Now, also just to make sure you guys know, oh, the volume changed. Oh, sorry, was that too loud? All right, let me try to adjust the volume. Don't mention Ripping off necklace over. Yes, yes, yes. Let me see if I can fix the volume change. Sorry, sorry guys. Want to make sure the volume is right. All right, so I'm gonna turn up my volume so the audio on this matches. So my volume's going up, people. Up, 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 up. All right. Sorry. Volume seems fine to me. So I've raised my volume so it doesn't be too different from the thing. Volume seems fine to me. All right. Yeah. Thanks. It was pretty loud. All right. So now I've adjusted my volume to hopefully keep it. But again, StreamYard volume thing is a little messed up. But I want everybody to understand this is what was reported in the news back then. So now let's move forward to what's being reported in the so now just because she was arrested, you know, the news, we know the news media reports a lot of a lot of craziness. So here is actually this is a recording from her court appearance with Miss Van Ryn. I mean, because of this incident. So we have that.
Amber Heard.
Sorry, this is it.
This is the state of Washington versus Amber Van Ryn, cause number CPS 013529. Stephanie Sato on behalf of the state. Ms. Van Ryn is present in custody with counsel, and I didn't get your name.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Michelle Shaw, and I apologize. I walked out of the courtroom, Your Honor.
The state is declining to file charges at this time.
Okay, what that means, ma'am, is no charges will be filed against you today. However, that could happen in the future. Therefore, we want to make sure we have your correct address. Sycamore Avenue in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
So you're notified by me if anything happens within the statute of limitations. Statute of limitations on a case like this is 2 years. So make sure that if your address changes that you notify me. Otherwise, it could result in warrants, and that would be a DV case, and that can have cross-state implications. So because you're in California, it wouldn't provide you any relief from the DV designation from the tomorrow.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any questions about that?
No, Your Honor.
Pretty well, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
So now the entertainment show Extra actually even got the disposition from the court. Now that was me from earlier. So just so we're on the same page, Amber was, right? So she was arrested, and then on top of that, she went in front of a judge, and the judge saw everything that needed to be seen. So we have Amber being, you know, in front of the judge. We literally have that testimony, and everybody's there. Oh yeah, I muted it because I was listening to it back, and I didn't want you guys to hear it. So it's good. It's back. It's back again. It's back again. Yeah. Again, this is what happens after a week of streaming. You kind of lose your mind back here. So that's what we had there. That's what we had there, and I think it's clear, right? She was. We all know what happened. So let me put this back on screen. So here is the cover page for the document, for the unsealed documents from Fairfax, and here it says. First, Mr. Depp seeks to introduce evidence related to the arrest at the Seattle-Tacoma Airport in Kings County, Washington, where Ms. Heard was arrested and quickly released. But we know that she went and had a court appearance. She was arrested, had a court appearance, and then was released. And the charges, assault, Ms. Heard grabbed her partner's wrist to get her attention when the rental bus was leaving, were dropped. But that's not what happened. She said her necklace was ripped off. Again, this is changing the facts a little bit by Elaine. The charges were dropped, and the arrest record was expunged, which happens if you're arrested and you don't plead guilty. They say, okay, if you're good for, let's say, 2 months or 2 years or whatever that time period is, if it is, then you can get the record expunged because you were charged, but you weren't convicted. So that's what they expunge. And I think under the law, they allowed you to expunge that record, and she went and got it expunged. It is undisputed that no criminal charges were ever brought against Ms. Heard in Kings County. That's not true. We just heard that charges were brought, let alone resulting in a conviction. That's true. There was no conviction. Therefore, evidence, testimony, or references to this arrest for the alleged underlying alleged conduct is inadmissible pursuant to Virginia's. Now, I think Elaine makes a very good argument here that if because this is propensity evidence, it shouldn't be allowed to come in to prove it. But again, Amber could open the door. And let's just also forget what we're talking about here. What type of case are we talking about here? We're talking about a case in which Johnny Depp is accusing his ex-wife Amber Heard, saying that she was the one attacking me, she was the one beating me, and on the reverse, Amber saying he was the one beating me. So this evidence is really on point, but you get into the thing where just because she did this to her former girlfriend doesn't mean that she did this to Johnny. So that's why the court, I think correctly, said you can't bring this in. But then Amber eventually opened up the door, and they were able to bring in not the arrest, but the incident. They were able to bring up the incident, but not the arrest. You'll see a little later. So this was actually kept out of the court documents, her prior DV arrest. Now, pleading guilty to lying in Australia. That was something that also they wanted to keep out. So first, I want to go to the English court. Remember the UK judgment, the one that they always say, UK judgment, UK judgment. This is the judge. The UK judgment is what happened. The UK judgment is the one we can trust. So I looked at the UK judgment when it came to this particular issue, because I remember when I read through those hundreds of pages, I remember the judge essentially said, well, hold on. There's a problem. She was convicted in Australia for lying to authorities. Here it is. Judge Nicholas, this is from his judgment. He puts here conviction in Australia for knowingly making false declaration regarding the importation of dogs to Australia, right? And he goes through the whole thing where on the plane was met at Brisbane Airport by quarantine and customs officials. Ms. Heard completed the incoming passenger card, which included a question: are you bringing are you bringing into Australia animals, parts of animals, etc.? Ms. Heard answered the question no. That answer was false, since Ms. Heard was accompanied by pistol and boot. So the judge in the UK case says there was a conviction, making false statements, and here it is, right? Here's what happened. Clear, right? I don't think there's any doubt, right? And he still came to Amber's defense and said he still ruled in Amber's favor, even knowing that this conviction. And what did the judge say about this conviction? He says, again, in his judgment, the UK judgment, she was convicted, and the offense which Ms. Heard pleaded guilty involved knowingly making false statements. And Mr. Colligan said it was not a trivial offense. But this judge said that because the nature is so far removed from the evidence which Ms. Heard gave at the UK trial, that it wasn't relevant, that it was marginal at best. Her lying to authorities in Australia and being convicted of that was marginal at best. And he disregarded that damning evidence on her credibility as a witness, because remember, she was just a witness in that case, and said, I'm just going to disregard the fact that she was convicted for lying in Australia to that. So here is, I want to make sure. So now when it comes to the Virginia case, back in Virginia. So now we're back in Virginia. This again is Amber Heard's motion to keep out the claim that she was convicted in Australia. And this is what they write in their claim, what they're saying. Again, to suggest that Ms. Heard has a criminal record and was found to be dishonest by a court, which is true, right? That's exactly what the UK judge just said. She was convicted. She has a criminal record. She was found dishonest by a court. As they put, as with the King County matter, quote, there was no conviction recorded, so they didn't record the conviction, and because the Australian court instead discharged the person, Ms. Heard, without proceeding to conviction. So now there was an issue that was going around on Twitter, whether pleading guilty or being found guilty equals a conviction. Now, in the United States, either one of these is a conviction. If you plead guilty, you've been convicted. If you're found guilty by a jury, you've been convicted. So conviction can mean either one of these two things. Either you are found guilty or you're saying I am guilty, right? Those are the two ways that a conviction is obtained. Now, if you didn't plead guilty or you weren't found guilty, you have no conviction. So that is why here in the United States, you plead guilty, you've been convicted. There's no difference between pleading guilty and a conviction or being found guilty and a conviction. When it happens, you're convicted. But it seems what some people on Twitter are saying, well, it doesn't mean in Australia. It doesn't conviction just because you pled guilty to the crime and said, I'm guilty of this crime, doesn't mean you've been convicted. So, again, Australia may have different rules. England might have different rules. Canada might have different rules. But you have a judge who I think, because the Australian court system is pretty much based off the English court system, the UK, just like ours. And I have a UK judge who is favorable to Amber, who says that, yes, she was convicted in our Australian court, and this is proof. And now Elaine is coming forward and saying, well, she wasn't convicted, right? That's essentially what Elaine's saying, that she wasn't convicted, but you have the UK judge saying she was convicted. Who do you believe? Or is Elaine correct? Is the judge in the UK correct? Who knows? But I would say this. Let's just be honest. If she pled guilty to lying to officials in Australia, in the United States, generally that would be a conviction. So this is the second thing they wanted to keep out, this conviction for lying, and they were able to keep it out. This didn't come in the U.S. trial, even though it came in the UK trial. So interesting for Amber. Let me look at some of the chat messages. Judge Nichols has to live with his embarrassing decision. I don't think it's sitting well with him. Probably not a great note to end on. Yeah. He got caught out with this. It was kind of crazy. Oh, Bernice is a very positive person. Speaking of Canada, Ontario is going to feel like 40 degrees this afternoon. Ugh. Celsius. It's Celsius. I believe nothing Elaine says. Elaine does not even believe what Elaine says. Thank you. Well, I don't think she does. So they wanted pleading guilty to Australia. So the first two things they were able to get out, the arrest for domestic violence and pleading guilty to Australia, that's gone. That wasn't introduced. Now, also this lying to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security was also not let in to the American trial. So this is another thing Amber said she'd come out. So her arrest for domestic violence, gone. Her pleading guilty to lying to government officials in Australia, gone. Now her lying to the United States Department of Homeland Security. Now again, I'm going to turn back to the UK judgment, because this was in the UK judgment too. This was allowed in, and the judge actually looked at this. So think about this. The judge had two incidents of Miss Heard lying to officials in different countries. Australia, and now we're going to talk about the United States one. So to challenge her credibility, the alleged lie was to the Department of Homeland Security regarding the status of Savannah McMillan. Now, just to put a bow on this, Amber, this person, Savannah, was coming into the UK and was stopped at customs, and Amber had to send a letter saying why this person was there. So Amber was saying she's just a friend, she's not an employee. But then her assistant said no, she's actually an employee, and then gave documents. So let's look at that just to show you what happened and what they wanted to keep out of the Virginia case. So on the 28th of September 2014, a letter was written by the Department of Homeland Security in these terms. Oops. Hi, my name is Amber Heard, and I'm a proud lawful American citizen, blah, 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 blah. She then goes on to say how Savannah is a personal friend and has never worked for her lawfully in the United States or anything else. And that she was essentially giving her money just because she was her friend, not because she was an employee. But Kate James, who was her assistant, who was Amber's employee, tells a different story. Kate James has been Miss Heard's assistant in the United States. Miss James, in a witness statement, said that the letter from Miss Heard falsely claimed that Savannah was just a friend and not an employee. I'm afraid that I do not find Miss James a satisfactory witness. This is what the judge said. He doesn't like Miss James. She was dismissed, but essentially fired by Ms. Heard in February 2015. And the circumstances for her termination are still appear to be a cause of rancor with Ms. James. So she's saying because Ms. James was fired, her credibility is suspect. And then he says she did exhibit her witness statement with a check for $16.25 made out to Savannah McMillan in her witness statement. And on that check, it said payments, right? Payments to Savannah James, right? So, to Savannah McMillan. So, think about this, people. And I think this is the important piece to this whole thing. Think about this. The judge in the UK says, well, I don't believe Ms. James because Ms. James is suspect. She was fired, so she's going to say anything to hurt Amber. But Ms. James said, okay, well, hold on. Just you don't got to believe me. Here's the check. Here's a check paid to Savannah for $1,600, and it says right here it was for payments, right? Payments for that. So she was her employee, right? You're just going to believe me. And the judge, even with that exculpatory evidence, some evidence that shows that what she's saying is correct, still said, well, since you were fired, I don't believe anything you said, no matter what evidence you bring. And you brought a check. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. So the judge totally disregarded Ms. James' evidence. She disregarded her testimony and just believed Amber. So that's essentially what happened. So in the Virginia case, then it came up again, right? Third, they wanted to keep this out. Third, the UK trial and witness Kate James, Ms. Heard's former assistant who was fired, she said the same thing. So they go through in a sentence and say the same thing. Her employment status, and says this should be kept out. This should be kept out. The fact that she lied. But one thing I found interesting in this is that they never say in their motion that this was untrue, that Savannah was an employee. They just essentially say that Savannah, that it shouldn't come in because there was no conviction and nobody said that she's lying. But they never hear essentially say that Amber, that Savannah didn't work for Amber. And let me just read it through real quick. Third, the UK trial, they go through this. Included testimony related to Savannah McMillan, an assistant to Ms. Heard while filming in the UK, and the status of her employment relationship. So here, essentially, she's saying, yes, she didn't say she was her friend. She said she was her assistant, right? And her employment relationship with Ms. Heard in the U.S. Ms. Heard provided a letter to the Immigration Department in support of Ms. McMillan in 2014 after Ms. McMillan had been stopped and questioned at the airport. There were never any charges brought against McMillan or Ms. Heard of these allegations that Ms. Heard lied to immigration authorities about the true status of Ms. McMillan's employment status in the U.S. are not admissible and are excluded. So essentially, which I found interesting, the most interesting part about this one is in the UK case, the judge said, oops, 1 second. Oops, thank you. All right, so I'm sorry, my control room in the back sent me a message. I had to check it out. Okay, so now what I find most interesting about this particular thing is that in the UK case, she was adamant that Kate James was lying. The judge thought that she was lying, and that Savannah was never her employee. We don't believe that, right? Because it's suspect. Now, fast forward to the Virginia case, Kate James was her assistant, right? She said it right here. Kate James was her assistant, right? Look, it's line 3. Testimony related to Savannah McMillan, an assistant to Ms. Heard. I keep saying Kate James, but Savannah McMillan was her assistant. It sounds like she was her employee. So it's fascinating how in the UK you're able to say Kate James is lying because she's not an employee. But then on the opposite end, come to the United States and says, well, she was an employee, she was her assistant, but just keep it out anyway, the fact that she lied about it. It was kept out. So it was. Kate says the trolls are out. We're just going through the document. We're just literally going through the document. So I wanted to just show everybody, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So the judge kept this out too. We didn't hear about this in that trial. We didn't hear about this at all. We didn't hear about this at all. So lying to the Department of Homeland Security when she filed that paper to say she was just employing, that was it. That's done. The next one is Amber's criminal juvenile record. Now, this is interesting. Now, I do want to say this for everyone out there. Juvenile records are never relevant in any court case. And I think it's simply because what you do as a juvenile doesn't mean what you're doing is going to be doing the same thing as an adult. So the majority of courts, I would say if not all of them in the United States, juvenile records are not going to be used against you. Eventually, when you become an adult, they're sealed, and then it's like stuff never happened. So I think the court properly excluded this evidence of any juvenile record. But now, since we know since we kind of have some evidence about what happened, we'll see. So it's a juvenile. Now, this record, I want to be very clear. This record I found online, and it seems to be just a simple. It just seems to be a simple violation, traffic violation. Here it is. It says in 2003, a cop, while he was on patrol, he said he noticed that he saw a car. He noticed people weren't wearing seatbelts. He could see a strap hanging next to Miss Heard's side. He initiated a traffic stop, pulled Miss Heard over, asked her for her driver's license. She didn't have one. He found that her license was suspended, and he arrested her for having a suspended license. Now, I'm someone who hates misinformation. So just to be very clear, I'm not a Depp simp, nor am I an Amber simp. I just hate misinformation. And in this case, there's been some horrible misinformation portrayed against Amber Heard. And that horrible misinformation is that this juvenile arrest was for vehicular homicide, which everything that I've been seeing says it was false. Here it is. There's been many news articles, but Amber Heard's mugshot resurfaces and it claims that she was involved in a vehicular homicide case. And then they bring up some people who, some people who are saying that, but this claim, everything that I find about it has been false. The arrest for not having the suspended license, the one that I've seen was only for not having a seatbelt, and she got caught with a suspended license. That's what happens when you're driving dirty. Anything else, I've just not seen it. So maybe if you guys can send me something, or guys have found it, but I have not found it at all. I've seen something that said vehicular manslaughter, but I couldn't verify it. And then looking at the documents here, they're pretty clear that this was just, that she just has a juvenile driving record for driving without a license. And that's what they essentially said here. Her juvenile driving record, including on a suspended license when she was a Texas teenager, it shouldn't come into play. And to be honest with you, that makes sense, right? It makes sense. Here it is, right? Here it is. Nate, someone says, Nate, it is the redacted part that is concerning. Well, again, maybe I got to receive the redacted part, but I'm just saying from what I'm seeing now, from what I've seen, it just, Mimi says it's the second one. Well, hopefully, maybe somebody can find the second one. I'm just saying, just from what I've found, she had one, and the second one doesn't, it doesn't say vehicular manslaughter. Well, the one I've seen doesn't say vehicular manslaughter, but maybe there's one out there that says vehicular manslaughter, but then I'd have to find it out. But now I'm just saying, based on what I've been seeing, the evidence and all that stuff, it just doesn't seem accurate. Again, with the facts that have been put out there. So her juvenile driving record, obviously, is going to be kept out. It should have been kept out, and I think that's the right decision by the judge. So the first four of these things were kept out. Now, the arrest for domestic violence was kept out, but part of it came in. But this arrest for juvenile criminal record, that was going to go. Now, this is one that was interesting. Amber's involvement in a friend's death. Now, this kind of attaches to the last one, the Amber's juvenile record, and I'll show you why. So they put here, fifth, at deposition, which is true. At depositions, Depp's attorneys were asking these questions. So fifth, at deposition, Mr. Depp start cross-examining Miss Henriquez, that's Amber's sister, about the tragic death of Amber Heard's close friend Logan. They don't put a last name; they just put Logan. It's kind of like Wolverine, Logan. When they were both teenagers, and they were trying to figure out if Amber was in the car. Here's some of the questions. This is actually from the confidential transcript of Whitney. She was asking against some background. And was there a time when Amber and Logan's relationship became romantic? She says no, they were never romantic. You mentioned that Logan passed away. When did he pass away? Again, this is Depp's attorney asking Miss Amber's sister Whitney about it. Question: did Amber ever tell you in her words or substance that she was driving the car the time he died? That was Depp's question. Her answer was no. Right? She wasn't. There was no. That didn't happen. And then they asked her, was Amber with Logan when he passed away? And at the beginning and at the bottom, you see no. So her sister totally denied. Right? Totally denied any of that claim that Amber was involved in her friend's death. Matter of fact, she said she wasn't there. She wasn't. So, unless there's more evidence, it seems like what the sister said was it didn't happen. And again, the motion to eliminate was put forward to say, well, let's just do this in case they want to induce this, so they don't ask her sister on the stand. Let's just keep this out. And I think this makes fair. You asked her, she says it didn't happen. Amber says it didn't happen. There's no evidence that it didn't happen. So it wouldn't be fair to put this in front of the jury because it's like, no, there's no real evidence that this actually happened, that she was with the friend. Now, there could be. Maybe it's just not admissible. But from right now, from what we're seeing, it's just not there. So right now, the claim that she was with the friend seems to be false, pending any more evidence that's induced. So now that leads us to our last thing, Amber's criminal record. So again, these first 6 Amber put out and said, I don't want these to come in. So let's look at this last one. So this last one was kind of just like any of the criminal stuff happened. So let's talk about this conviction for the dogs in Australia. She doesn't want this to come in.
And we all know by now that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard issued an apology, and she pleaded guilty, blaming her assistant at the time, or her former assistant, Kate James, and who is a native Australian. She said that in court that she thought Kate James had taken care of the paperwork. And she also blamed sleep deprivation and jet lag.
So that was for her arrest and pleading guilty. Again, she didn't want that in front of the jury. Next, she didn't want this in front of the jury. The arrest.
Amber Heard was arrested September 14th, 2009 after she...
So again, all these would be criminal things. So she said, hey, we don't want any of that we don't want any of that to be put in front of the jury. And it makes sense. And the judge didn't allow most of that stuff, any of that stuff to be put in front of the jury. So they won. Now, because we've checked out Amber's stuff, here is Mr. Depp's crimes and other wrongdoings that he didn't want to be put in front of the jury that weren't elicited in front of the jury. So let's look at this. This is his motion to eliminate to exclude testimony regarding his prior arrests and incidents of violence. Now, again, you may be saying, well, again, Nate, this is relevant to this case, right? If he's got incidents of violence, especially with other women and other things, then that may, be relevant to this case. But again, remember what I told you earlier about propensity, about the Lord doesn't want to convict you about things you've done in the past and wants to convict you about if you've done this thing now. So that's why these things were not allowed in court. Just the same thing like Amber. Like Amber's DV arrest would have been highly relevant, but it would have been highly prejudicial. And the same thing with Johnny Depp. He has some things that would be highly prejudicial. So again, their argument is testimony. So this is again from Depp's team. Testimony concerning Mr. Depp's arrest record should be excluded because it's unrelated to Heard's claims and it's too remote and all this stuff, and it's too prejudicial. So let's look over some of these things. First, Johnny Depp was arrested in 1989 for assaulting a security guard in Canada. So that was one arrest that he was. Again, 1989, long ago, but it did happen. In 1994, he was arrested for trashing a New York hotel room while he was staying with then-girlfriend Kate Moss. Again, another arrest. Let's keep that out. Another one, 1999, he was arrested for threatening paparazzi with a plank of wood outside of a London hotel. So again, this was he said, they said, hey, we don't want any of this stuff to come in because it's not really related to, to, again, the issue of the case. It also may be too prejudicial, and it's so far removed. We're talking about things that are 15, 20 years before he even met with Amber. And this is not him, this is not him abusing his spouse or any of his relationships. This is him having arguments and being just arrested with other people. Again, the same thing with Amber, right? It's like, is this relevant? Is this not relevant? All this doesn't seem relevant to the current issue at hand. Again, this one was one of Depp's ex-girlfriends, Elaine Barkin, once testified that he acted throwing a bottle of wine at her. This is false. So this headline actually is false. She didn't testify because we all saw it in the trial. She testified that he tossed. She didn't say throw. He tossed the bottle across the room. They said that he's throwing a bottle at her. So even in these headlines, that headline is false. She then testified that was tossed across the room. So even that is not, it wasn't. She came in and testified to it, but it wasn't like it's like a nothing level thing. What's your opinion on Michael Eminat's verdict being? I haven't looked at that case, so I have to check it out. Thanks, Grammy, for the $5 super chat. I haven't seen that case, but I'll check it out though. If you can just write that down, and I'll look it up. So he tossed the wine bottle across the room, not even at her. So it shows you how crazy some of these things are. But he didn't throw it at her. She testified to that. And then Depp is currently filing a lawsuit from a location manager who alleged that Depp punched him on the set of, and that's in 2017. So these are the things that Depp's team wanted to keep out, and they wanted to keep out because they said the probative value of the testimony regarding prior arrest and misconduct is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice and the likelihood of misleading the jury. So Depp is saying that, hey, even though these things did happen, number one, they were arrests, number two, this again, the same arguments that Amber's making on her side, saying that we should just focus in on the evidence induced at trial about our particular thing. So that's what they asked to keep out. So now we know what Amber wanted to keep out and what Depp wanted to keep out. He wanted to keep out all these arrests, that were 20 years ago, and she wanted to keep out all these arrests for domestic violence and for her juvenile record, and they both were kept out. So that's now, oops. So now I want to bring it back. So those were all the crimes, prior bad acts that both Amber Heard wanted to keep out and Johnny Depp wanted to keep out, and they were kept out. So, who got the best of it? Think about this, and I keep thinking about this. I'm posing this question to you people out there. Think about this. If all this information had come out at that time, if all this information had come out at that time, both Depp's past and Heard's past, do you think it would have changed the outcome? Do you think people would have been like, she's got all these things that happened in the past, but she's got all these things that, would it had changed the outcome? Would it made people more sympathetic to her? Would it made people more sympathetic to Depp? I don't know. I think it kind of was a wash because they both have kind of mixed histories. But I think it's hard to get around a DV arrest, a domestic violence arrest, when the trial is about domestic violence, right? So I think that would have been a linchpin for Amber. So Heard's DV arrest is more germane than Depp's actions. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that may have been something that would have been even worse. Now, let me give you a preview for the next one of these. Hello, Nate. In-depth analysis superior my ebook. Oh, Art Norman. Thank you. Don't forget, go check out his ebook. He pushes it all the time. He and I always go check it out. Go check it out. Thanks for the $5 super chat. So I want you. I'm going to. Well, I'd rather you somebody should try a poll. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section because I think it's a little bit more flustered out. Some people may say some parts are fact, like some people were saying that the prior domestic violence arrest would have made them think so. That's why. But I'll see if I can do a poll. But first, I want to get to this next preview. So the next video in this series is going to be the lawyers who are misleading did Amber's lawyers mislead us? Now, first, let's talk about the problem. Yes, an Alford plea is a conviction. You're saying I did it because the evidence is so. Yes, an Alford plea is a conviction. An Alford plea is a plea of guilt. You're pleading guilty. So yes, it's funny. Most jurisdictions don't allow you to do Alford pleas. Oh, just so everybody understands what Alford plea is. In other words, you're pleading guilty and you're saying all of these elements are satisfied. The government can prove these elements are satisfied. So it's kind of like a lot of people call it a no contest, where I can't defend myself. So I'm not saying I did it, but I'm saying there's enough evidence where I'm obviously going to be convicted, and I'm going to submit to and I'm going to submit to the conviction. So it's an admission of guilt, but it's not an admission of guilt saying I did it. It's an admission of guilt that says essentially I can't defend myself against it because the evidence is so overwhelming. That's kind of what the Alford plea is. Thanks, but yeah. So again, if you've pled guilty or been found guilty, you are convicted. So next, we're talking about misleading lawyers and whether Amber's attorneys misled the public or misled the court. So here's an example. Remember, let me let famed attorney and my friend Emily D. Baker lay it out for you. Here it is.
And they're going to tell you how much they spent in attorney's fees in a little bit. And if you're sitting here going, but Emily, I watched this whole trial on your channel, and I remember when Amber Heard was on the stand saying, I've paid over $6 million to defend this case. What did she mean? Well, she was using I paid and Travelers paid synonymously because Travelers makes it very clear in this litigation that they paid, not Amber Heard. Did Amber Heard pay for the insurance? We don't know who paid for the insurance policy, but we know that Travelers was paying for adequate experts, vendors, and proper.
So just to be clear, we now know, right? And the reason why we know this. So Emily is 1000% correct. So why did I play that clip? We now know because of two things. One, Travelers, well, let me go back. Amber Heard's insurance companies are in legal fights. First, one of her insurance companies, New York Marine, is suing her saying that they don't want to cover her because this was willful acts. That's one thing. But then you had Travelers insurance company suing New York Marine, her other insurance company, saying you guys got to pay some money for her defense. But in that lawsuit, Travelers said we're paying Elaine, we're paying all her legal fees. I think more than $8 million, right? So Amber's not paying her legal fees, as you just heard Emily just speak. It's been the insurance company, and the insurance company we have documents now to show the insurance company was paying them. So now let's listen to. So now I think this is important because this is the kicker with this one. Remember when Amber was saying, remember when Emily just said, remember Amber testified that she paid the $6 million. Now remember, we all know because of the insurance lawsuit that Amber did not pay her insurance, did not pay her lawyers. It was her insurance company paying her lawyers. So when she says I paid $6 million, it's not accurate. It's actually the insurance company that paid the money. But let's hear this. Let's hear her on the stand explain it.
I believe. And have you completely fulfilled your donations to the ACLU and the Children's Hospital?
I have not yet.
And why not?
Because Johnny sued me for $50 million in March of 2019. And I have spent over $6 million.
Objection, Your Honor. This is a motion in limine.
That part was supposed to come in.
Once you come forward, let's take a look.
Now, you've heard Camille. Objection, right? This is part of the motion to eliminate. So Camille's like, objection, part of the motion to eliminate. Now, we know what the motion to eliminate was. So let me take you to it.
I believe.
So the motion to eliminate, Elaine asked specifically. Again, I can't let this be overstated. Elaine, before that moment, she specifically asked the court not to allow any evidence of who's paying whose legal fees into the trial. That's essentially what she asked for. Here it is. Number 26. Evidence. Again, this is Elaine asking the court to exclude any talk of legal fees. Evidence of who's paying attorney's fees should be excluded, and any references to or suggesting that Ms. Heard having an army of many attorneys on the case. And they give you two subsections. A, plaintiff, Johnny Depp, should not be allowed to introduce evidence of who's paying for legal fees because such evidence is not probative of any material fact, including whether Mr. Depp assaulted Ms. Heard. So they said take it out because of that reason. And the second one, plaintiff should not be allowed to introduce evidence relating to who's paying each side's legal bills because any probative value is substantially outweighed by the dangers of unfair prejudice. So she asked for two reasons. Keep them out, keep them out, keep them out, keep them out. And then she comes back and puts them in and tries to sneak them in front of the jury. Again, listen to it again. So remember, Elaine, we just saw Elaine, before Amber testified, no one should say anything about legal fees. Judge says, okay, we're going to keep out who's paying whose legal fees. It's irrelevant to the case. And then they tried this to sneak it in.
And have you completely fulfilled your donations to the ACLU and the Children's Hospital?
I have not yet,
And why not?
because Johnny sued me for $50 million in March of 2019, and I have spent over $6 million.
Objection, Your Honor. This is a motion in limine.
I'm sorry about my mic being high compared to the video because this video is down. But again, as we can see, that's why we had that objection, because that objection was specifically to say, well, hold on, you guys, right? You guys were the ones asking for us not, right? You guys, sorry. But again, she was saying that you guys were the ones asking for us not to bring it up, and now you guys have brought it up. Let me go to this. Oops. Let me go to this next clip. Oh, view. I'm gonna make sure I get the next clip.
For those.
All right. So this is the final clip. Oops. View. Let me go back. All right. So now, let me take you guys to the final clip of Elaine's closing. So just so we can understand where we're at. Elaine has asked the court, we don't want to hear about who paying whose legal fees. Then she goes and asks Amber, right, who's paying, you paid $6 million. And Amber says, I paid $6 million. And they say, objection. You can't say that, right? Because you asked that nobody can say that. So, and now we know that Amber didn't pay it. It hasn't been paying any money. It was Travelers who's paid all that money for the insurance. I mean, for the case. As you heard what Emily just said. So now, here is at the end of the trial. So now you know, Travelers was paying Elaine, and for the legal fees, $8 million. They specifically asked that this information not be put in front of the jury, who's paying whose legal fees. And here's Elaine at closing, making it happen, explaining it. So here's Elaine's closing, telling us about it.
Amber for those. Then she made payments to both, and Elon Musk also made payments to both for $500,000 each, which she didn't count to her pledge, but they helped those organizations. At the end of the day, she's made $1 million in payments to them, but then she got sued here and hasn't been able to because she spent $6 million in attorney's fees. That is unrefuted. She still intends to pay those pledges. Honor those pledges, and she said that throughout, and I elicited from both the ACLU and from Children's Hospital, they haven't expired, she can pay them whenever she wants to, and she Amber for those.
Sorry. Yes. I muted. Ah. So the interesting part about this is that at the end of the day, the interesting part about this is at the end of the day, they asked for it not to be introduced. Then they kind of sandbagged Depp's team by saying, "Well, here it is. You know, we're gonna put it in front of Depp's team," and then they go and mention it at the end of the trial. She paid $6 million, essentially violating that court's order again, right? And again, putting it in front of the jury, because what they didn't want to happen was they didn't want Depp's team to say, "Well, you haven't paid for any of that money. It was insurance paid," right? And that would kill that excuse that she didn't pay the $7 million donation because she had the because she was paying out of pocket for legal defense. So, but what they did was they kept it to the end, and then surprised it at closing. Oh, she paid $6 million in an attempt to try to kind of circumvent them asking that this be kept out, get this be kept out. So it was a nice little tactic, and it kind of slid in. But you know what's going to happen, and it's interesting because I'm going to play that clip again. When you see that clip, you're going to see the attorneys, when she starts saying it, look at the judge and look back, because I think they're thinking the judge is going to stop her, but it didn't happen. So check this out. Look at the clip, but when we look at this clip, just look at Camille and the way she's looking back and forth.
Then she made payments to both, and Elon Musk also made payments to both for $500,000 each, which she didn't count to her pledge, but they helped those organizations. At the end of the day, she's made $1 million in payments to them, but then she got sued here and hasn't been able to because she spent $6 million in attorney's fees. That is
start looking at the
unrefuted.
judge.
She still intends to pay those pledges, honor those pledges.
keep looking
and
at the
she
judge
said that
now.
throughout, and I elicited from
Because they're like, do we object? Right? Do we object in the middle of her closing? Because she's obviously saying something that the judge said should be kept out. They kind of let it go. I think at that point you kind of let it go because she's already drowning underwater. So if I said, you know what, let her talk her nonsense. But you see how, you know, even in court, some people people are trying to avoid all this stuff and try to get around all of these things. So here we go. So that is the Elaine piece of it. Now I want to take you guys to Twitter, because now the attacks have become insane. And it's interesting because I really don't understand why things have to get so, I don't know, how do you say, it's got to get so argumentative. No, well, it's always been argumentative. Let me find this tweet for you guys. So this is a tweet string from Kat. Now, she was the one who did this. Let me move this. Now, this is a reporter from NBC she was a part of the documentary, essentially the hit piece against Johnny Depp. Here it is. And I am going to bring up her tweet thread, which is here. And boom. So this is Kat Timmerbrage. This is her tweet thread. Now, essentially, her argument is that Amber is innocent. Now, she's been saying this for a while. She's been saying Amber's innocent, Amber's the victim, Amber is this, right? The evidence doesn't matter. Any facts don't matter. It's Amber is innocent. And you get the same thing on with other cases too, right? When it was Rittenhouse was guilty. When it's Chauvin, they'll say Chauvin was innocent, right? No matter what, right? Because you're gonna have people who no matter what the facts are laid out in front of you, right? With the Chauvin case, the facts, the people are like, oh my God, and you have situations with people, no matter what they are, it's done. It's done. It's absolutely done. So I want to show you what Kat has been trying to do to make it so Amber, the tie, the public relations nightmare that Amber, she's trying to fight it on behalf of NBC. And we've seen that with NBC's exclusive interviews. We've seen that the way NBC's been covering it. It's all been that bad, Heard good, and that we, people like me, the Umbrella Guy, the other law tubers, we're all lying to you. That's essentially what she's going to say, and we're all lying to you for profit. So let's go through our tweet thread to see. My mic. People are saying my mic. Let me check my mic then before we go into this tweet there, because I want you guys to be able to hear me. My mic. Let me check my mic then. Mic sounds good on this end, so thank you. But I'm thinking people are watching the older one when I was muted, so that's why. I apologize. I'm having a boomer moment. I'm having a boomer moment. All right, so she says, during the trial, viral posts about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were almost all in favor of Depp, but things are starting to shift. I wanted to break down some of the ways individuals were able to fight back against misinformation and harassment. So now we have two claims, misinformation and harassment. She's going to tell us how people are fighting back. So first she puts this video. Depp fans paying $3,000 unsealed documents for Amber Heard, them finding dirt on Johnny. But that's the reason why. Now, it's interesting because the reason why you put out everything is to say we're not trying to hide anything. And the wild part about this is that it wasn't like we just got the information and just start putting out information just for Amber. They put everything out, right? So nothing was protected. And let's also not forget, it was Depp's team who wanted the information to be released publicly, right? They said we have no issues with it. It was Amber Heard's team who was saying we do not want this information released publicly, and they lost that battle. They went to the judge and said we need everything, and the judge said we'll keep some things redacted because of personal things, but we are not going to keep everything because that doesn't make any sense. It's a public trial. So they released everything, but the court released everything and said we're going to make you pay $4,000 for it. And people who wanted transparency said, just release it all, and we'll see. And that's what Andrea did. She released it all. So there was nothing to hide here in this situation. So here she goes again. Next tweet. To preface, I think these efforts are important to highlight because they show how to fight back against modern smear campaign playbook. Again, we're using those nice words. Smear campaign. Before she put misinformation and harassment campaign. So let's see what she's talking about. Maybe she'll expand upon that because she's got a whole bunch of tweets here. What happened on the trial will continue to happen in cases involving celebrities, but also in politics, social justice, etc. Okay. Two of the people who had the most impact are Cocaine Cross and this person. Both create threads to distill important info from court documents and testimony for social media, which is how the pro-Depp creators amassed a widespread support for Amber. So here's what she put. Depp's fans paid $3,000 to unseal court documents, facts, just to get dirt on Amber. No, not really, because they wanted to see everything that was unsealed, but ended up unintentionally exposing information he tried to keep private instead. But again, this makes no sense because we know at the hearing it was Ben Chew that said, release all this information. We want it out there. And we know it was Amber's team specifically that said they didn't want the information to be released. So this doesn't make any sense, right? Just saying this doesn't make any sense, Kat. It was Depp's team who wanted it to be released. It wasn't, they literally went into court asking for it not to be released. So I don't know why she's saying this. Maybe she just wants to, pretend. Here is an example of one of whatever this person's name is, K-Force threads that went viral. So now she's putting a viral, right? Important info that has been twisted into misinfo online. Since I've since seen people on TikTok comments, for example, directing confused individuals to her account. Tweets are unavailable. All right, so that I can't say. Threads may seem like low-hanging fruit in our polluted information ecosystem, but they are not. They provide a quick explainer model that can gain traction in the way a long article or video can't. Some journalists recognize this and make threads for their stories, like she's doing now, right? So when it comes to pollution, misinfo, disinfo, smear campaigns, and the information ecosystem, it's hard to remove pollutants. Social media companies do not have a good way to clear out falsehoods, and the idea that we should combat fake news has been politicized. Now, one thing that always surprises me with this is that we keep seeing those same words. We keep seeing when it comes to pollution, we see misinformation, disinformation, smear campaigns. We see all of that, but she's not giving us any examples of it, right? So this is what I like to call claim. You know, you claim a wrongdoing, but you don't show a wrongdoing, right? This is kind of like a show and tell. I'm just going to tell you what you need to understand, but I'm not going to show you anything. So she's been telling us and showing us nothing, right? Here's a thread that says something. Here's this, but be succinct. Here's some misinformation or some examples. But it's good because when you could just say those words, then people will react, and that's what people are doing. Yes, it's misinformation, but not giving an example, telling anybody how it is. She's just trying to get traction. She's trying to do what she's trying to say. She's trying to manipulate the media or manipulate the story so she can gain traction. And that's the way. And this is the way she's doing it. You know, she's trying. She believes that we don't understand it, but this is exactly what she's trying to do. So what do we do when we can't get rid of fake news? Like, again, what fake news? What have we been saying is fake? We create alternatives with legitimate information, fact-checking the evidence that are in the same format as the disinfo. But again, she hasn't given us any disinformation, so that it reaches the same audience as the disinfo. Okay, great. Twitter is an easier platform to do this on than YouTube and TikTok because both require more effort. Tech-savvy creating videos, blah, blah, blah. This is why pro-debt narratives still dominate these platforms, because they are more pro-debt creators. Not really true. It's because I think most people who watch the trial, just like everyone else, when you watch the trial, you see that, hey, Amber is clearly the liar here. So just to say that there are more pro-debt creators is not really giving you the context of there are more pro-debt creators because we all saw the trial and saw that Depp was the victim, right? There was more pro-Amber creators before the trial because everybody thought Amber was the victim. Everybody believed her lies. And then when they saw that she was lying, they saw the clear evidence that it was false, they turned against her. Don't forget, people, and I think this needs to be said. I was pro-Amber. I thought Johnny Depp was going to lose his trial. He didn't. And when after seeing the evidence, I didn't think there was any way for him to lose the trial. After seeing the evidence, Johnny Depp's evidence, I didn't think he was going to lose. I didn't think there was no way he could lose because the evidence was so clearly in his favor. But again, this is not about the evidence for these people. These are about narratives that they want to push. I might could get past her saying she paid it when it was her insurance, but she lied about the donations, and Elaine would know the difference. Yes, of course. They walk the gray. T in Tennessee, they're walking the line, but T in Tennessee, they're walking the line. But Elaine knew. I think Elaine knew. Thanks for the dollar, Nicholas. And so the only words she doesn't use synonymously are punching and hitting. Yeah, she doesn't. Amber doesn't use those two words synonymously. Here we go. Moving on. So here's the next one. Sorry. And so here we go. This is the one that gets everybody upset. And the trick of these pro-debt creators is that they branded their content as objective or even journalistic when it's actually propaganda. They're propagandists. So I'm a propagandist. And they make a lot of money in engagement from creating propaganda. Now, this is not true, right? Because I just watched the trial, right? Think about this. Think about the people she's calling propagandists. I just sat there and watched the trial and commented on what I saw. Emily D. Baker sat there and watched the trial, commented on what she saw. Nick Recchietta watched the trial, commented on what he saw. Legal Bites, Hogue Law, Uncivil Law. There are all of these wonderful attorneys on YouTube, right? Thank you, Glow T. All of these wonderful attorneys on YouTube. Most of us, from Rekieta to Hogue to Uncivil to Legal Bites. Well, Legal Bites thought he was going to win. Like, we all thought it was a loser. We all thought he was a loser. It was a loser that he wasn't going to win, and he actually did win. And at the end of the trial, all of the lawyers who watched it came to the same conclusion. Depp was the one that was harmed. Even though we all had to move from Amber should win till Depp is going to win, all of us, 99% of us, were on Team Amber's side. So now they're saying that we make money covering trials. All right. And maybe this is something that Kat doesn't understand about legal LawTube or legal YouTube. So just to put it out there so everyone here knows too, I am a YouTuber who happens to have a law degree who covers legal topics. And I live stream trials. Surprise. Is this the first trial I live streamed? No. I live streamed Gavel to Gavel, Rittenhouse. Well, not only Rittenhouse, I live streamed Ahmaud Arbery and some of the Rittenhouse trial, but Gavel to Gavel, Ahmaud Arbery. Derek Chauvin, that was one of the earlier trials. There's been a whole bunch of trials. We covered the Cardi B trial. Cardi B has a criminal trial we're going to be covering, Gavel to Gavel, if mics are in the courtroom. So this is what we do. We cover trials. This was not the first trial I've covered. This is not going to be the last trial I covered. But we cover trials. And to say that us covering trials and doing what we do is somehow propaganda is just not accurate. It's just not accurate. It's like you go to a gas station and say they should be shut down for selling gasoline. That's what they do. And this is what I do. So, if you don't like what I say, you should make it your own channel. But this is, we didn't start this. U.S. women's soccer is another thing. I covered, now it wasn't Gavel to Gavel. Well, I covered all the documents and all of that, right? It's like this is what we do as legal commentators on YouTube. We research, we develop, we look at documents, and we tell people what our opinions are and try to distill the information in a digestible way. That's what I've been doing today. That's what this channel's always been about. And that's what I think she doesn't understand. And now she get mad because we're not pushing the narrative she wants to push out. We're just pushing out the truth of the documents we got. So that's what it is. So on the flip side, she now puts. So let's go to Kat's on the flip side. On the flip side, so again, we're the pro-debt people. We are the people we are the people who are just doing this for money. And now on the flip side, so now she's talking about all the pro-Amber Heard creators, right? So I'm bad, I got no morals, I got this, right? Here is what she says about the flip side. On the flip side, pro-Heard creators like her, there isn't a monetary incentive. If you're compiling objective threads about the trial, you're probably doing it out of your own desire to clean up our information ecosystem. Basically, the system relies on more good actors than bad. So this is the one. This tweet was the one that got a couple of us riled up. And the reason why is because Kat, is a pro-Heard creator. Let's just not even pretend, right? Just watch the documentary. Just watch, even look at her. She is a pro-Amber creator. She's getting paid to be a pro-Amber creator. NBC, she's got that check mark because she works for NBC, not because of who she is, but for what she does. Now she's got a blue check mark, and she is a pro-Amber creator. She's getting paid to write this crap about Johnny. And the fact that we get paid to just put out the court, like right now, I've been putting out the court documents and putting out everything. She said you shouldn't get paid for that. But think about the irony of this. You guys really need to think about the irony of this, which I find to be fascinating. Remember when Amber initially went to NBC and did the interviews, right? And they turned over those therapist notes, right? They didn't turn them over to everybody. They just turned them over to little people. They just turned them over to NBC. And NBC didn't take them and make them public. NBC just put them on the screen. Hey, they gave us a therapist note. Trust us. We read through them. And this is what they say, right? This is what they say. But it's kind of like, well, hold on. You put these in front of us, right? They gave you this inside information, and you didn't make it public. You kept it to protect Amber, right? You showed us parts that were favorable to her and kept it, right? We don't know those therapists notes. They weren't published, right? Dateline just kept them and said we saw them, right? NBC kept them and saw them. But when we got evidence, we got all the evidence, right? All this unsealed, confidential information. Because remember, those therapist notes were confidential information that Amber put out and that NBC put forward. But but NBC didn't put them out. Now we got all the information. We put them out to everybody. He has bad stuff on Depp, bad stuff on Amber, and we're the bad guys. And the misinformation that Kat's talking about, just so we're clear, she's not talking about misinformation on our side. What she's talking about, she is upset that they can't give us misinformation on their side. She wants to put out as much misinformation and disinformation as possible, but she can't. So what do? Just yell misinformation and disinformation and hope there's enough people that will believe you, not because of the information itself, but because you got a blue check mark and just because you work for NBC. But listen, girl, I'm sorry. Those days are over. It's not what you tell me. It's what you show me. And we show and tell. You just tell. There's no show. That's the big difference between us. And if the pro-Amber people were out there telling the truth, they would be making money too. But unfortunately, you're not telling the truth. That's why you're not making any money. Remember, the truth is what matters, not the spin. Then Kat goes on, right? So now they're all in it for the honesty, and we're all in it for the money, right? Which is obviously not. And again, she's getting paid for doing this, right? So she's not in it for the money, but she's getting paid. And if she wasn't getting paid, would she be doing this? Who knows? But she's cutting a check. So I love the fact that I can get paid to do this and cut a check, but if you get paid for doing this, you're a bad guy. You're a bad person. Really? Come on. Let's not be stupid with this. Here it is. Good actors can't necessarily profit in the same way propagandists can. So this presents an unequal playing field. We need salary journalists. All right, so in other words, Kat thinks you're an idiot. Kat thinks you're an idiot. She thinks you're an idiot. Look what she writes here. We need more salary journalists to make the same type of content. So she just in one tweet tells us the motivation of getting paid is making it crazy, but we need now more people getting paid on our side to spin the narrative. So she's saying the quiet things out loud. She's saying the quiet things out loud. Oh my God, this is crazy. Thanks, Glow T. Thanks for the $10. She's saying the quiet things. Thanks, Lynn, for the super sticker. Well, Snake, can you smell the fear? MSM are losing viewers because they push propaganda. Ratings are collapsing. Oh yeah, like Giver. You know it. That's the reason why she's writing these long. She's trying to come to play the game here, and she's trying to play the game at throwing shade on us, but she can't because we got her, right? I just give you the core documents. She's got to spin them, right? And it's a great place to be. When your facts on your side, you just give them facts, and they got to spin them the way they want. There's no argument here. She's not arguing with me. She's arguing with the facts of the trial. She's arguing with the jury, right? A jury, a judge, everybody saw what happened. Her argument's not with me. It's with the reality. Anyone threatening JD and Amber Heard physically, threatening their kids, smashing them to death needs to stop and look at the mirror. This is who we want. Is this who we want to be? Oh yeah, anybody threatening anybody is ridiculous, right? But you got crazy online. Thanks, T for Tennessee. Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. So yeah, please. If anybody's doing that, they need to either be in jail or stop doing that. That just doesn't make any sense. Thank you for becoming a new member. And T in Tennessee, I keep asking the one that stated that what specific statement in streams upset her. I get lots of words, but the question goes unanswered. Don't tell, show me. Yeah, but that's the name of the game here. Kat's game is not, let me give you the truth. Let me tell you the truth, right? And that game is done, right? We don't play that anymore. You can tell us something because you've been wrong so many times on so many easy to prove wrong things. That's why we want you to show us. We just don't want you to tell us. And Masui 951 for $10 says, "I'm first time catching live. Happy I got the lawyer experience." Thank you. All right. So now, moving away from Twitter. So now, again, good actors, but right now we have awesome indie creators again, she's pushing these indie creators. This guy, Cocaine Cross, Chateau Bunny, and Camilla Force. So she's trying to promote these two people because she wants them to get some more traction. Moving away from Twitter, there are some other areas online that have been working to get disinformation. So she's not sending people to Reddit. Smaller spaces and creators have to operate under constant threat of harassment, and having the propagandists and their supporters aim their collective smear efforts at objective or pro-herd info sources. Just survey my replies. Okay, so this one says, subreddit several hours after the verdict is now operating in restricted mode. It is necessary temporary action to deal with the volume of rule-breaking comments. Okay, so there was a pro-herd thread. After the verdict, people ran it and said, blah, 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 you're wrong. And they said they had to shut it down. That is proof that they're being harassed. Okay. I wish I knew more ways to combat online harassment and intimidation, but there is no easy answers, and it can take a huge personal toll. So I'll end this thread by thanking creators I mentioned as well. Remember, she only mentioned 2, as well as anyone who has the courage and honesty to cover the trial fairly. So that is what she's saying. That is essentially what it is. And this, I think, is the key point. Her point is that if you don't cover the trial the way they want you to cover the trial, right? That's what Kat is saying. If we don't cover the trial the way she wants us to cover the trial, if we don't say the things that she wants us to say, if we don't look at the documents and show the evidence the way she wants us to show them, and anything that contradicts her opinion, her reasoning about the situation, right, it's propaganda. And anything that isn't doing that, and anything that's the opposite way around, is altruistic. So just to be clear, Kat is arguing for censorship in the sense of we should have more paid people we should pay more people on our side to give up, to make our propaganda more substantial, to make our lies more substantial, right? We need to start paying these people. We need to start paying these people to do this. But also stop supporting the people who do give us the truth, which is interesting way to do it. But I think Kat she's lost this one, and she's trying to do everything possible to either throw shade on us or to try to make it seem like we don't know what we're talking about, or you guys who saw the trial didn't see what you saw. So at the end of the day, Kat, I'm assuming, and I'm not saying there's no harassment. There's no harassment to pro-Amber people. That would just be obtuse to say. But she doesn't want to acknowledge that after a jury trial, the jury found that Amber Heard is the liar, that what she's saying is not true. And that reality is uncomfortable for Kat. And that reality, that the evidence showed that Amber is the liar and Amber was the abuser, is uncomfortable for Kat. And the only way she can spin it is not by saying the evidence was bad, not by saying it's not about the evidence. It's about who's telling you what the evidence says. And her beef with us is not that we're telling you the evidence. is that we're showing you the evidence and letting you make the decision for yourself, right? Showing it to you. I'm showing you clips of the trial. I'm showing you the documents, and you decide, right? I've just showed you what Amber kept out and what Johnny kept out, and let you make a decision for yourself. That is their biggest fear. Their biggest fear is the fact that they've been spinning, I think, the narrative for so long that now when people just say, we just want the facts, you keep your narrative. And then they were saying, no, we're going to continue to give you the narrative. So what do? We said, okay, we're just going to give you the facts. And now that people are gravitating toward us because we're just giving you the facts, we're just letting you see it. Then they're now panicking and saying, they're not giving you facts. They're giving you misinformation, disinformation. Stop watching them. Or we're going to pay you to fight them. But again, remember, her argument's not with me. It's never been with me. It's been with the facts. It apparently doesn't occur to her that the same reason they aren't making money is because no one wants what they're selling. Maybe if they quit trying to spend stuff, they would make more money. Yeah. But don't forget though, how can a person stop breathing air, right? That's what they do. And I think they've been doing it for so long, it all looks the same to them. Whether they're spinning it for a narrative or telling you something that they don't want to tell you. Tell you something that they know is factually incorrect. It's interesting because look at some of these replies. No incentives when they literally ask for tips and donations. Another lie from this journalist right here. Examples of one of AH supporters' threads, right? So here she goes. She's a survivor of IPV. If you would like to support me, she has a donation link. So this is the crowdfunding where they gave the overage to the Children's Hospital. Shocking, right? Even Eve Barlow's asking for money. The abuser's only friend. So, but you know what? She's going to say, all these pro-debt people are harassing me by pointing out the fact that everybody else is getting paid. That the Amber people that you said weren't getting paid are asking for donations to get paid. But nobody's paying them because they know that it's outright lies. This is what, and again, they don't want that pushback. She doesn't want that pushback. So, at the end of the day, who's got it right? Is Kat right? Is the pro-Amber people really on the right side of history? Is she right because they are the ones that are profiting? Is she right? The pro-Amber Heard side, here it is. The pro-Amber Heard side are the side on the side of right. They are the ones objective. They are the ones doing the right thing. They are the ones who are not getting paid, even though they are getting paid. They are the ones who are trying to clean up the information. And everything that we've been saying that's pro Johnny Depp, because of the evidence, is all lies. Believe Kat and don't believe us. Believe NBC. Don't believe us. Believe the lies and don't believe the documents. Well, at the end of the day, who do you believe? With that said, thank you guys for joining me this morning. We've gone over a lot. We went through Kat's and NBC's attack on us, especially me as an attorney. Like, hey, you guys are giving people the truth. Damn it. Get them out of here. They should be stopped at every end. We also went through the crimes and other things for the motion to eliminate. So you guys have seen it. And Uncivil is asking me to redirect after the stream ends if you can. I will set it up, and I will set it up in a second, but I have to run. So with everyone, I will be doing that, and I will see. Audio's a bit funny. Yeah, fuzzy. Yeah, my audio is messed up this morning. So thank you again for the $3 super sticker. My name is Nate DeLoya, and again, at the end of the day, don't let people tell you what the facts are if you can see them for yourself. Peace.